Hey, this is Max. I'm back with another csr2 video. Today I'm going to talk about the F12 Berlinetta. This is a 3-star Tier 5 car. It is actually one of the easier cars to build to max, utilizing buying and stripping Tier 5 Ferrari F12s. Let's first take a look at Stage 5 only. This car is interesting in a few ways. We're going to see that when we go to tuning, but here it is set up with only Stage 5 parts and full fusion. Fusions, again, can be obtained, and the Stage 6 can be obtained by buying and stripping F12s. You're going to strip a lot, so expect to spend 20 plus million buying and stripping F12s. It's not going to be a quick, I strip 2 cars and I get all the stuff I need. All right, so here I am tuning the car in a general format. I'm going to do that for the entire Stage 6 series here. I'm not going to fine tune anything. I'm just giving you a feel for where the car could be. Now, the interesting thing about the F12 is you can tune it to max Evo by putting the final gear into the theoretical top speed of the car range, which is right around here. So what is that? That's going to be what, 260? 260, 261 is the theoretical best at the highest Evo. Now, tire probably can be adjusted some more, but let's not mess with that yet. The thing about tuning this car is that your better times will always be tuned to 5th gear. So if you put 5th gear to run at the theoretical top speed range, you get your best tune for the car. This is unique to this car, actually. Most cars don't tune this way. They tune to highest Evo for the fastest runs. But this car actually tunes to 5th gear with a lower Evo for the fastest runs. Another thing about it is it launches at 6.5K or 6K rather than launching at perfect. It runs better with a tire spin launch and not as good with a perfect launch. And here we did a 10.781. So I'm going to make that as Stage 5 baseline. Okay, so all Stage 6 will be working off of this baseline, and we'll see how it runs. Now, you can still go off of the dyno, but you got to understand that this car beats dyno. The dyno was 12.01. We ran a 10.78. So this is the dyno crushing setup. The problem is, of course, this car being such a dyno crusher actually can be a problematic car to run in live because you get bumped a lot. Now, I just reset everything to max Evo. The reason I did that is I want to show you how much slower it is when it's running max Evo. The other thing I'm doing right now is I did it with a perfect launch and perfect shifts for the most part, both of which slows you down. So this actually will make the car run slower. Plus, you had a 10.9 dyno. You're running slower than dyno at 11.1 versus a 12.01 dyno running at a 10.78, which is very impressive. So again, this car is rather unique in that sense, in the way it's tuned. Most other cars, not all, but most other cars don't tune this way. So again, here we go. This time I launched it with the 6.5K nitrous, and then I'm seeing where I'm at. Hopefully better than doing it with the perfect launch. Not the most perfect shifts, so not much better in time either. So that kind of is the issue with the max Evo tune on this car, is that it doesn't run that great at max Evo tune. So I'm going to try one more shot. This time I'm going to drive as best as I can and see if I can get even better time. Okay, now that first gear with nitrous, you're going to launch and you're going to hit nitrous, but you got to catch the gear. Don't let it bounce red line or it's going to lose a bunch of time. So that first shift was not that great, but it's still a little bit better than last time. But we're still not running even dyno yet. And that's kind of the issue with the max Evo tune on this car. Now, of course, you can tweak it a little bit, but notice that increasing grip further doesn't really help the car that much. You actually lose some Evo and therefore it goes slower. So that's the weakness of this max Evo tune. You almost always have to set it to the 5th gear tune. The downside to that, of course, is you don't make a whole lot of RP. You're also beating dyno by a huge amount, which puts you at risk of getting bumped when you go into live. So keep that in mind. All right, so here we have stage 6 body. Okay, jumping right in, stage 6 body right there. This is usually a strong stage 6 for cars like this in tier 5. And I'm sure it's not going to disappoint on this car as well. Not messing with anything too much, but I'm going to take a look at the theoretical top speed. 269. Probably can do even better than that. Let's see if we bump the 5th gear to 269, what it gives me as the theoretical at that point. 273. So it's got quite a substantial increase in the final speed. Now, the highest final speed isn't necessarily going to give you the fastest run, but something around here should all be pretty decent. Okay, so the times are it's kind of okay. I'm not going to, I don't need to mess with tire too much, just leave it alone. So I'm just kind of leaving it where it is before. 1 point of Evo isn't going to make that much of a difference. I'm just going to run it. It'll give us a pretty close update on how much body affects the overall time. Remember, our baseline for stage 5 is about a 10.781. Okay, so wheel spin launch, nitrous right away, catching the shifts. Don't let it redline. And you're going to drive this way basically all the way until the car's maxed. So this technique doesn't change. Late launch, early nitrous, catching all the shifts. 10.348 from a 10.8. 10.78, that's a decent 0.4 plus second drop. Not bad at all. That's a pretty strong showing from body. Okay, stage 6 tire is next. Tire in this case may not be as strong because if you're already going off of a wheel spin start, okay, and you're adding more grip, you're not really exactly helping yourself that much. So I'm not getting the feeling tires can be a huge one, but let's take a look at minor tweaks and see what it looks like. So here it almost looked like you're going to have to run much higher acceleration, but there's not a huge effect from tire, right? Tuning it, maybe move it a few points, but it's not a big deal. Now, 11.9s from a 12.0 dyno means it should be able to pull off about a 10th. I would say 265 would give it about a 10th. Now, the extra grip may or may not affect how the car runs, but let's take a look how I do here. All right, again, wheel spin launch. Crap. Okay, I screwed that up. First of all, I shift into second before nitrosing and so on and so forth. This is not going to be a great run. Let's just take a look how bad it is, and then I'll decide if I need to run again or not. That's pretty bad. That's only a 0.03 second drop, but theoretically, though, it should really be a 0.1 second drop. So I'm not going to mess with it. I don't think it's worth to run it again, but just keep in mind the dyno is showing about a 0.1 second drop. All right, trans. Trans could be big, trans could be small. It really depends on the car. But trans generally will give you either quicker shifts and lower top speed, or quicker shifts and more top speed. So it really depends on the car, but let's take a look at what the theoretical top speed is now being adjusted to. 260, so it's slower, even slower than tire, which was 265. So I'm going to adjust the final 5th gear again, tuning to 5th to 260. See, maybe a little bit less, see what happens. Still 260, right? Playing with the tire grip isn't likely to do much. Nope. So leave that alone. A little bit of, it's at 11.7. 11.7 to 12, 11.76 though, so it's really about a 2.5 second drop. Well, no, 0.25 drop. Let's see what it does. Okay, so that time I actually drove it okay. Again, you wanted to near top out 5th by the end of the half mile. So that one probably had a little bit of tweaking in it, but a 10.5 from a 10.78 is about a 0.2 second drop. Not the greatest, but not the worst. So that's something, it's an average stage 6 in this case. All right, engine. So we're starting to move into what's generally slightly weaker stage 6s, but let's see what engine can do. Okay, without touching anything, let's take a look at the top speed change. 264, a minor change from trans, which doesn't bode well for higher performance. Probably can eke a point or two out of it. Let's take a test run. So again, the tuning in this car is almost based off of top speed rather than Evo points. But of course, when you're fine tuning, you're still gonna take a look closely at the dyno and the Evo points and try to eke out the maximum Evo minimum time based on the fifth gear probabilities of running into the top speed. So here we just did a 10.594, so it is also about a 0.2 second drop, although slightly less than transmission. So trans engine's pretty close to each other. And that gets us to turbo. Here we go, turbo stage 6 installed. Now let's take a look at its effects. Right, take a look at the top speed. Oh, 265. So again, it's right around that number. Maybe it'll go up a little more, but let's see if it'll 264. Showing a slightly better time. Let's run it this way. Let's see what it does. Okay, again, 6.5K launch if I can time it. Yep, that's not too bad. It's not great. Could be a little better. The perfectly good launch plus all the perfect shifts, quick nitrous timing could shave off probably 0.1 plus from the overall time. That's how people that are running really good times are getting world records. All right, 0.1 second drop about, well, actually 0.13, but approximately 0.1 is kind of what it is. And that brings us to intake. Intake on many cars, if not, I would say 80+% of cars is one of the weakest stage 6s. So let's see what it does here. Now, turbo, pretty weak. Trans and engine's about the same. So what is intake going to do? I don't know. Let's see. Not a whole lot of movement there. So it looks like that's staying probably where it is. Ooh, 11.5 though. 11.5 is a nice drop from 12.0. There's hope. Intake might surprise us. Nitrous shifts. Not too bad, I think, for these. Not the best, but okay shifts. Oh, that's a pretty good run. Ooh, 10.436. That's not bad at all. From a 10.781, that's a 0.35 approximately. So that's a decent drop. Intake is doing better than trans, engine, and turbo, and tire. So right now, intake is actually a second. But of course, we're coming up on the big boy nitrous. Nitrous for this car, I know, is a strong stage 6. The question now is it much stronger, or is it stronger than body, right? So if it beats body, then it's going to be a very good stage 6. Now, it definitely added some decent amount of top speed. And we can play with the duration a bit to try to get the best time. So here we go, 270 mile per hour. I could probably tweak the final drive just a little bit. 10.691. I mean, 11.691, I'm sorry. Let's run it. So nitrous is going to make a big difference because it's 1, longer duration, 2, more power. And just from playing this car so much, I know nitrous is big for it. Okay, so not the best shift, not the best launch, but is it still good enough to beat whatever body did? .5 second drop approximately. Not bad at all. That puts nitrous at number one, body, intake, trans engine, turbo, and tire. All right, let's move on to Tempest 3 discussion. Tempest 3 Tier 5. This is one of the common questions. Can I set up this car to beat Tempest 3? Well, the answer to that is yes, quite easily actually. So here's my current setup for the 685 pp limit. Notice I'm not leveraging stage 6 nitrous. I'm actually just kind of leaving things on average at stage 5. Now, if you leverage stage 6s by, say, for example, taking out body and then adding nitrous, you may actually end up with better evo and better performance. So combinations, this is where it comes in. If you have combinations where you can leverage certain stage 6s, by all means do it. If you cannot, or you're missing fusions, then kind of stick with all the parts that have fusions first, and then try to move into parts that are lacking fusions, because a stage 6 without any fusions really doesn't do a whole lot. So you're almost better off installing another stage 5 that has fusions. So here, 241 mile per hour will easily beat the target number for Tempest 3 Tier 5. At 685 pp, you only have to hit a 0 to 100 of 3.562 and 220 miles per hour. Easy peasy for the current setup. Again, setting to 5th gear. I'm just going to run it. I'm not even going to tune for the 0 to 100. I'm just going to run it and see what it does. Again, nitrous first. I hit red line there, so the time's going to suffer a bit, but it really shouldn't affect a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. Here, I didn't even shift into the gear right, and still we did well over 230. 11.4 time, 2.30 to 100. So you're about a second plus quicker than the target numbers. And you're about 10 mile to 20 mile per hour over the target number as well. So 685 pp, easy peasy. Okay, again, you can tweak a little bit here and probably get a little better time out of it. But mile per hour, same thing. Lower it, run nitrous a little bit later. You can eke out some mile per hour. This is only necessary if you're missing fusions and it's tougher. 692 pp limit. All right, 692, we're looking at 2.5600 to 100 and a 235 mile per hour. I am just going to kind of tweak the parts up to get to that. So what I did is I added some body in. Everything else is pretty much stage 5. Not necessarily optimal, but a viable setup and tune. Again, I'm working off of full fusions based on a max car and reverse engineering this. It's a little different when you don't have full fusions and you don't have fully built car. Your part selection becomes a lot more important. So you need to play around with that. Okay, so here we go. Do I need to do anything special for the 0 to 100? Doesn't look like it. That was pretty quick. Can we get under 2.5 though? We'll find out in a second. Top speed's no problem. 235 don't even require you to shift into the final gear. 2.029, yep, beats that, beats the top speed. Boom. Next bracket, please. Right, so that was no big deal right there. Let's move to next bracket. Tier 5, 699 pp limit. 699 pp limit requires a 2.342 0 to 100 and 240 mile per hour. Shouldn't be too hard. As you can see, all I did is really add another stage of body in, and that kind of bumped the points up. Okay. Now I can kind of play around with this one way or the other. Stage 6 nitrous is in. That's a big one because it helps with top speed. So I'm kind of, that's too much. Let's take stage 6s out. So it's going to be hard to hit that number with stage 6s. Oh, that'll work. Now, I have it at 699. It could be 698, but just to be on the conservative side, I'm going to put it at 697 and run it that way. This way we don't have too high a PP point, and then, you know, when you're actually running the event, you go, oh, whoops, Max, you did it wrong. Your PP point's too high. It's not going to work. All right, so 2.3, 0 to 100, 240 mile per hour. Again, I don't think I even need to do anything special, although that 0 to 100 is looking a little slower, but we have more power, so let's see what happens. Launching nitrous, and that looks pretty good. I suspect that's closer to a 2-second 0 to 100. Definitely not bad at all. Maybe a 2.2. May even be 1.9. Who knows? 2.0. Okay, perfect. So definitely beats the 2.3 requirement. Well past 240 mile per hour. In fact, you're hitting the final requirement of 260 mile per hour already. So more than enough top speed at this point. And again, you can kind of play with it. Now, what I'm doing right now is I set 0 to 100 to the end of first gear. If you need to get the absolute best 0 to 100, this is how you do it. You get it, nitrous. Boom, done. Okay, now that was 102. I can actually tweak that back slightly to 100. In Tempest 2, there's a rather difficult PP limited 0 to 100 that a lot of people struggle with. For that one, you basically do what I just showed you. You put nitrous to the shortest duration, tire to 0 100, and then put first gear to end right at that spot and launch it, and you'll be good. All right, so we're coming up on the final two brackets. 707 requires a 2.3130 to 100. You know you can do that. 250 mile per hour, big deal. We already did 260 without even, so I don't even need to upgrade the PP point, and I can do this. And now that I'm upgraded, this should be a breeze. Okay, just blow right through it. The only thing that you need to actually watch for at this point is whether your car is fast enough to beat the times, right? You're not going to have a problem with the challenges. It's just the actual opponent times. But with the 11.4 dyno, you should be running something like 10.2s. I don't think the car's in the 9s yet at this point, but it could be. So let's see what our times are, because I'm not too worried about the 0 to 100 and the top speed. That's well over requirements. So we're hitting 286 already at this point. Right, 9.8, 1.5. So 9.8 is pretty good. I think that will get us to a pretty decent point. Let's see. Now we're looking at the final bracket, which is going to be maxed out car. Now, the only concern at this bracket that you have to worry about is, can you beat 9.1, okay, in the half mile? Because that's the final boss time. Everything else is whatever, because you're definitely going to beat that. So any fine tuning at this point is basically just so you can make sure that you can get the best run possible out of the car. 10.0 on the dyno. We want fifth gear to end at about 302. 310 and a little more grip. Again, fine tuning could, and a little bit of playing will get you the exact result you want, but somewhere around 300, a little over 300 is where you want to be to get the best time. This should give me easy 8.9 or better. Again, at this point, that first gear, when you hit the nitrous, can go pretty quick, so you want to catch it. That was a bit early, but it's not a bad overall shift. Let's see what it comes down to. 304. That should be a decent run. Should be in the 8s. 8.946. Now, 8.8 is where you really want to be able to get to. But anything 8.9 consistently will get you what you want to do, which is beat the boss. I'm going to take one more run. I don't think I'm going to run 8.8s, but let me see what I can get. So this is a okay fast car, not the most fast, okay? And even at maxed, fully maxed, the evo point is still under 1,000. So from a RP gaining standpoint in live, it's only okay. It's not great. If you were swapping in live, I would recommend you to put it back to the 7th gear final drive setup, which will give you over 1,000 evo and better, slightly better RP from the wins. Okay, I shaved off a few hundreds, but nothing to write home about. So 8.9 is consistently easy. Okay. All right. Final thoughts. I like this car, and I'm going to take this car into live, right? Live is one of the final piece of the puzzle for this car. If it's that well-rounded a car, it should be able to do everything. It should be able to do map. It should be able to do live. It should be able to basically do everything you need to do in Tier 5 all by itself. And I can tell you, for the most part, it will. Because the car runs a standard downtune setup, it is quite effective in live immediately. I mean, if you bring this car with the stage, any stage setup, with the gear set up at 5th gear to top out, you will be very competitive in live. However, you're beating dyno by 1.2 seconds. What does that mean? Well, if the computer averages out what your car is running, it's going to bump you to hell. You're going to have this car bumped in a way that you're never going to win in the long run against anybody. That doesn't mean you can't win in the beginning. It doesn't mean you can't ever win. You just have to know that your dyno and your whoops, that was a quick re-challenge. Your opponent will be based off of your actual run times, not just your dyno times. So now I'm going to have to give him this run. He's running symbols. I'm not. I don't have to be nice, but I'm not here to piss people off either. I like swapping when other people honor it. So I'm going to slow down, let him know that I'm going to honor it. He'll probably swap with me again. So again, this car does run a ton under dyno. It's not a bad car. So in my opinion, from the grand scheme of it, this is a well-rounded car. Now, there are people that tell you, oh, it's only a 3-star. It's kind of blah. But I disagree. I think the fact that it can be color changed, it can be changed for the interior, for the brakes, for everything. Any Tier 5 event that requires freshness change or interior color or something like that, this car qualifies. The fact that it's down-tuned even at its best tune makes it automatically one of those cars that is very good to have all around for map racing, because map racing still utilize a lot of times your dyno, so you're going to get some easy opponents. So he slowed down a ton. I'm going to wait to see if he re-challenges, because that's usually a sign that he's telling me, okay, man, I'm giving you one. Are you going to keep honoring it, or are you going to be screwing me on the next one? So I'm going to keep swapping with this guy. So I like this F12. It's one of my favorite cars from the beginning, and that part of the reason why I maxed it years ago. And it's seeing its fair share of use. It's not as good nowadays compared to all the stage Tier 5, cars that you can get. But here's a car that you can actually max out as a new player. So I would definitely ask that you think about maxing out this car if you're new. And even as you build other Tier 5 cars that are better, this car will still serve you well. Well, I'm going to end it here. Let me know what you think. Feel free to comment as always. Please subscribe. And thank you for watching.